There was a moment last year where I said the word unbothered out loud in a room during a really difficult experience, and everything stopped because I knew that this word had meaning and it was true. Imagine moving through your most expansive season of your business and your life at the exact same time, learning the duality of holding it all, staying completely rooted in yourself while you do so. Present, regulated, clear, actually building from a place of steadiness. That is what Unbothered creates. It is a mastermind with a complete subconscious reprogramming toolkit built inside, so you grow and scale your business with your beliefs solid beneath you and your nervous system fully on board. I built this because I lived it. The word unbothered came to me in one of the most defining moments of my life, and I knew immediately that it was the name of my next solo book and the work I was born to teach. If you're ready to build a business from the most grounded, regulated, expansive version of yourself, the link is in the show notes to join us. Welcome to the Own Your Choices, Own Your Life podcast. You've landed in the right place to learn how to own your story, release subconscious beliefs, rewire your mind, and step into the impact you know you're here to create. Through Outspoken Publishing and NLP certifications, we share the tools and subconscious shifts that expand your voice, your message, your confidence, and your leadership. I am your host, Marsha Van Weinsberg, NLP trainer, speaker, author, and publisher. I am thrilled you are here. Let's get started. Welcome back to the show. In today's episode, we are speaking with Marcia Earhart. Marcia is a certified life, trauma, grief, brain, and mental health coach, mediator, author, and HeartSync minister. Her guidance is both professional and personal. Having navigated the deaths of two sons within the last 11 years, one tragically murdered, she stands as a testament to God's faithfulness in the deepest valleys of grief and now leads others in healing. Her powerful new book, Gripping Grace in the Garden of Grief, is a raw and vulnerable chronicle of devastating loss. More than a memoir, it is a lifeline, exploring the fragile threads of love and pain that hold us together and revealing the God-given hope that can rebuild a shattered life. Marcia's mission extends beyond the page as the co-founder of the Sterling Rose Sanctuary, a nonprofit. She is boots on the ground in the mental health crisis. She creates a safe haven for the grieving to release their trauma and pain so that they can breathe again, move again, and live again. Her ministry reaches a diverse community across the United States and 6 other countries, standing as a powerful reminder that in deep sorrow, no one has to walk alone. This is an incredible episode, and it came on the heels of a loss in our own family. So what a beautiful conversation to have. What a heart-led, heart-wired person Marcia is. And she shares so much hope in light of grieving. And I think the thing that landed for me was grieving with hope and what that can look like. You will absolutely love this episode. Welcome to the show today, Marcia, which I don't get to say very often.
And I welcome you to your own show today, Marcia. So this is going to be fun. I love it.
It's awesome. I just honestly, as soon as I saw it, I thought, okay, that doesn't happen very often. And then, of course, we started having a conversation. It's like, oh, there's some definite similarities in our stories. And I feel like there's things that we are going to be able to share and talk about today with you and your story that will help even more people because of this experience that we've had. So would you start a little bit with sharing of who you are, Marcia, please?
I'm a child of God, and I know who I am in that design, and I love it. I am a wife. I'm a mom. I am a daughter, a sister, and a friend. And I love life. I love enjoying every aspect of life, being present with the people and in the places that I'm in. And I feel deeply blessed in my life for having had so much love in my life, even with all the multitude of losses that I've had.
Mhm. So wait till you hear her story because very few people I find even have this perspective. Have you always had this energy and this like deep grounded gratitude for life? Has that always been you?
I have.
Mhm.
Grief really redefined me early on because I had 17 very horrific losses by the time I was 18 years old. And so it really it gave me grounding at 3.5 years old to understand the brevity of life, that
Mm.
someone's here and then they're gone.
And then they're gone.
And from 3.5 on, I lived with great intentionality and probably a little more seriousness as a child growing up because I understood
Mm.
that life could end. But I always had a joy and a passion and delighted in life. And I still do. I feel like I'm still a child at heart.
Mhm.
I love my experiences.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You said 17 losses before the age of 18. Is that what you said?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Like how do you experience 17 losses by the time is it accumulation of family and friends and experiences that you've walked through?
A lot of friends,
Yeah,
people,
really.
my peers,
Your
peers.
peers. See, that's a different I
Yeah.
and it is it's that's a very different
Yeah, but this
experience.
wasn't like most of them were older people, had lived a
Mhm.
long life. These were people in the prime of their life, in their teens, in their early 20s. And and they were very tragic, all of them.
Mhm.
And it just seemed to surround me. But when we were growing up in my life, people weren't moving as much as they move now. So you knew everybody kind of in your community.
Mhm.
And even if you didn't, you did, because there somehow was a connection through a friend of a friend or either a friend. So many of them really were schoolmate neighbors that lived in my neighborhood, people I was going to school with that I'd had life experiences with. And three of my neighbors that were young died tragically.
Mm. What?
And the one, he was 23. And I would say that kind of reframed my life for my own experiences, which I find to be so amazing that God uses something before we ever know it's going to be part of our life to help us know how to walk in it. So that young man had just finished a dual degree at North Carolina State University, was a brilliant young man, and was ski gliding at the lake where we had a place. And they were neighbors to us at the lake as well as across the street in our neighborhood in Raleigh, North Carolina. And my dad came inside the house and was crying. My mom said, "Will, what happened? What's going on?" And he said, "I just saw," and he said, "who just dropped from over 300 feet to his death."
Mm. Oh, your
And he
dad
had to,
witnessed it.
my dad witnessed it and he had to go tell his dad. His dad was not on the boat that was pulling him. And I just remember life changed
Mhm.
again. I mean, it was again. And I saw my father grieve. I saw my mother. I was grieving. I was close to, I was not close. He was 23. I was younger, but they were friends. They were family friends.
Mhm.
We did things together. And I remember as we went back to our home, and we only about, an hour and a half away from our home in Raleigh, as life moved, they weren't moving. Their home did not change. The room did not change. They left everything exactly as it was. They had another daughter. And as a young person. And at that time, I would have been about 14 years old,
Mhm.
15. I remember thinking to myself, well, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. I felt their daughter really did not
Almost like her life
take
stopped too?
any. Well, no, it was like they didn't recognize her. It's as if she didn't exist, as if she wasn't important enough to stay among the living. And I watched this. And I even said something to my parents because we would go over to visit them. And I said, it's so heavy in the house. Well, what I was feeling was a spirit of grief in that house that had taken root. We're talking 2, 3, 4 years.
Mhm.
This isn't like the first few months. I want your audience to understand this is years passing by.
It's hard. I can imagine how I can feel the heaviness as you're saying it. I can imagine.
Yeah. And my dad's relationship sadly changed with his friend because his friend couldn't really be around my father anymore because they had done so much together with his son
Mhm.
and them. And so I watched this, but I saw my parents grieve in healthy ways. And because I always was able to see their grieving and how they were really teaching me, and they did, because at this point, we probably, maybe been 15, we probably were around, the 15th loss at that point, or 14, maybe it was 14. But it
Mhm.
was getting there, it was up there. And I had no idea in the next few years it was just going to mushroom, boom, 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 one after the other, all through high school.
Mhm.
So, but I learned how to grieve with hope instead of a spirit of grief consuming me.
So you really got to witness kind of both extremes of grief, not extremes, but both ends of grief. One, like to you feel it and you process it, and we find ways to move. And then one where nothing changes and nothing moves.
They were paralyzed.
Yeah.
They were. And I understand.
Yep.
I'm not judging that. I
Mhm.
understand.
Mhm.
But as a child, they never moved from that place. And
Mm.
it was stifling to me I didn't even want to go in their house after I
Yeah.
just told my parents, I can't go back in there. It's like walking in a tomb
Mhm.
where dead bodies are sitting.
Mhm. Mhm. It's almost trapped in time. It's
Yes.
a trapped in time moment. So you witnessed that. I mean, as that at that 14 being such a pivotal age, but you're in this space that it's almost like you were learning something early about how to grieve. And, it's interesting because even from your parents' perspective, seeing a healthier form of grieving. And again, we're not saying one's better, good. It's just like you recognize one is moving through emotions and one
Yeah.
is not.
And that's what
And
it is. One is moving.
mhm,
The other is stifled. It's just stagnating. And
yeah,
we're called to move.
yes.
We need to keep having movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So then fast forward us a little bit more, and you are like, when did life start to take even more of a change or a challenge for you?
Well, I never counted after that. My
Yeah.
assignment was to count up until then. So there have been numerous losses up until the loss of our son in 2014, who was 21
Mm-hmm.
and attending law school and living with us and died in a tragic car accident.
Mm.
And so part of that story is that we did know that he would die before us. He knew and we knew. We had been given that information by the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And it was confirmed in 2008 at a conference that he would pass in a car accident.
Oh.
And so he had his life celebration planned. And there are some challenges for me that I had to really surrender to the Lord
Mhm.
I didn't have to. I chose to. I need to rephrase that
Mhm.
because I wasn't going to change it. And neither was Sterling, my son. And Sterling knew. Sterling would say at different intervals in growing up that, Mom, Dad, you know I'm not going to outlive you. I will be taken home before you. And that started at 3.5, 4 years old when he said that for the first time. And I already knew by then. I was given that information within the first week of his life that
Mm.
I needed to treasure him
Mhm.
and to love him as the gift he was, but that he would not outlive me.
Because you had that experience, do you feel that you, I don't wanna say had a different relationship with him, but you cherished things differently because of that? I'm just curious.
I think I've cherished everything with all of my children and cherished with, and I already did with my family prior.
Beautiful.
The reminder to me in that moment was this is a gift. He's a gift.
Mhm.
And because he's going to leave before you, doesn't mean that I'm taking him, but he's got a day and an hour that's already determined that he's coming home. And the whole point of that is the Lord saying to me, I love you and want you to know the depth of my love. And I love Sterling.
Mhm.
And I know the depth of that love for me and my children. And so my children did not become my idols. And I think it's easy that our kids can become our idols. And that's what it kept me from doing, is making them my idols, because that reminder
Mhm.
loss is going to be something we all experience continually. And we don't know the when, usually, the where, the hows. And even in the knowing, one has to prepare.
Mhm. I wanted to ask you that as a like, first, as you're saying, the way you're saying, obviously hitting some things for me as I'm hearing you is just this, piece of phew, no knowing, like, feeling that and knowing it, and also, again, cherishing it. But I wanna take it to this piece on, like, if that's how you were able to lead yourself and see, and I mean, as you said, see all relationships that way, which is beautiful, because there's no guarantee.
Mm-mm.
There's no time that we know, like, we don't know our time. Most of the time, we don't know our time, and things can happen and change really quickly. And we have been in that space just even recently where we've navigating with a family member that we didn't know was sick and then within days was gone. It's like, wait, what?
Mm,
Like what?
mm.
It's just almost surreal. And I remember like thinking like we don't get to control that. That's not ours to control. But how can we continue to, cherish those relationships in that time? What I'm wondering then, knowing what you knew, what was the day like when you did find out when he did pass?
So after first I really understood what was going to happen in 2008, I grieved for 6 to 9 months and really just pressed into the Lord. And when that day came in February 14th, when the officers were in our home, standing there at 2 a.m. in the morning, I was listening, but the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit were holding me already.
Mhm,
And I started seeing a video of preparation
mm,
and all the things the Lord had done to prepare me for this moment,
mhm,
and said to me, I am with you. I told you I would never leave or forsake you, and I'm going to walk and be present with you. I've got you. And I'm listening to the officers, but I am already being cared for.
wow. There's something you said earlier, and it landed, it's one of the things I've always said, even since before I had kids, which I thought was some people thought was a little different or weird, but is that they're not ours to keep.
Right.
They're not ours to keep. They're never ours to keep. And so, in a space where for some parents, the children are their saving grace, and I'm not saying that doesn't mean we don't love them, but they are the hero. They are also the badge of honor. Like, that is something that I think I've had to really come to terms with, in a sense that for a lot of people, how successful my kid is because of, you know, seeing that as a badge of honor. And
Mm,
I often, I said even when they were younger that, we don't share brain. They get to make their own decisions. They get to make their
mhm,
own choices. And we want them to learn how to stand with their own decisions and choices. Like, this was toddler. This made no sense that I was speaking that way, yet years later, it
mm.
does make sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I believe that our kids are on loan to us. That's
Mhm.
how I look at it. So in grieving, I believe that with grief, the healthy aspect of grief is to have gratitude,
Mhm.
to be able to be thankful. And I'm so thankful for the years I had with both the sons, because my second son was murdered in 2019 with his girlfriend from an ex boyfriend who had been estranged, but not, and flew in to murder them and left their 6-month-old baby in a house unattended. And they were all found 40 hours later. So one could then get sidetracked by the murder.
Mhm.
By now, a child's been murdered. Um, Again, heinous as it is, there is free will that man has and can choose to do. And as much as I hate that my son and his girlfriend were murdered, I'm not in control of that.
No.
And that's not going to have control of me either. It didn't take root in me to pursue, to have anger, to make sure everything justice is brought. In fact, again, as the officers are at our house telling us, the Lord said while they're there, you are not to chase this, you're to give it to me.
Mm.
And I've already made this the justice where the injustices are. And you may not see it the way you want in the flesh, but I've got it. And I need you to let go and keep doing what I've called you to do and entrust it. And I did do that.
Mhm.
I did not at any point feel I ever needed to pick it up. That case was just, it's been over 6 years. It was just tried in
Just now.
December in
Okay.
2025.
Wow.
Just tried. So if I had put my energy and my life in that, I would have lost 6 years
Mhm.
with my family, with living in my gifts and my talents and the treasures of being able to bring healing to other people, because I was hijacked to think my time and energy needed to be spent in that.
You're absolutely blowing me away right now. Here's an example of feeling it, choosing how you're going to process it and what you're going to do with it. But you are right. There are people that would spend 6 years. Now, it doesn't mean that you care less. It doesn't mean that you're not angry. It's, what are you choosing to do with those emotions? And I am curious, did everybody understand your point of view? Did you have support on that? Was there anybody who was coming from, she's laughing, from a space of anger? Because your viewpoint is exceptional. It is not the average. I know that. I'm curious how you
So
remember.
all my friends were very supportive.
Mm,
My daughter was very supportive. My son at home that was living with us at the time was very supportive. Even my husband was very supportive. My husband, though, was struggling because God spoke that to me. I need everyone to understand my husband had to figure this out. And what is so amazing is that, and what the Lord said is, I don't want you to go to the courtroom and be present when it all comes to be. He said that the same day when all of this news is being told us. And as when I looked at my husband, I said, I need you to know I will not be going to the court whenever this is tried. God has said, I don't need that information. I don't need the pictures. I don't need that. That's not going to help heal. It's not going to bring anything of good to my body, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. My husband initially wanted to go, and he didn't go.
Mhm.
He didn't even go because he's like, yeah, I don't need to do this. I don't want that. Um, I trust God saw all of it. He saw it all. I didn't need to see those images. I'm going to bear image to how I remember my son. And I deal with people who have trauma embedded and who've seen some horrific things. Some of those were not by choice, but some have been by choice. And so we can be healed from that.
Mhm.
But given the information, God said, you're not to do that
Mhm.
because it's, scripture has a place that let the dead bury the dead. And people may not understand that, but that's already done. I can't do anything but have healing where I'm meant to heal and walk in the life that is afforded me and give life to others so they can breathe again, move again, and live again in their created design.
So, somebody who is listening to this and is feeling stuck in their grief, and let's just say, for example, that they don't have faith of any kind. How, like, what do they do? What would you? I mean, I realize this is your perspective. I'm just curious because I also know that sometimes when things are really heavy, it's easy to retreat. It's easy to hide. As you shared with your neighbors before. And there comes a point, I remember saying that I called it armor, but I just like put this armor of protection that nobody could see or touch me. And then all of a sudden I remember being under the armor going, well, this didn't work because now I'm by myself and I still have all of the feelings. But it's hard to take that first step and figure out what to do with it. So anything you can share on that
Well,
from
we work with people who are not
Mhm.
believers. So it's not about
I love this.
believing and not believing. It's the decisions you make as an individual. Do you want to live not just somehow, but victoriously? And if you do, that's already afforded you, but you have to choose life. You have to choose to live from, and I'm going to use the tree of life, or you live from the tree of death, whether you're a believer or non believer. They're two trees that we get to choose every day. I want to choose life. I want to live from the tree. I want to bear fruit. I don't want to be in this tree where death is there and there's just this dark shadow looming.
Mm.
I want to be in the fruitful place, the life given place. Time will not heal you, but intentionality of entering the grief will heal you.
Mm.
So if you think to put it in a box and put it away, that's only going to cause further complications down the line. And it's already causing complication with your physical body. I can assure you, you're going to have some pains going on, some illness going on. It's causing problems with your mental health because you're not processing the pain and you're not dealing with those areas that you need to be able to release so you can receive the newness.
Thank you for saying that. I wanted to touch on that because I figured, like, through your business and what you created, I wanted to go there. So even if a person, no matter what your circumstances, deciding that you want something different is really where, and that's what I believe wholeheartedly, that is where we change our life, is when we make choices that are in alignment with what we want versus what we don't want.
I would agree that we all have to be intentional.
Hmm.
And so, believer and non believer, when they come here and when we're working with them, the question is, what do you want?
Mhm.
from this? What are your goals? And if you tell me, well, I want to be able to enter in and be this, so are you willing to do the hard work?
Mhm.
And then have you given yourself permission to grieve? Because if not, I'm going to. And I'd ask that you step in it with me.
Mhm. That's beautiful. No, beautiful. I mean, even I think of clients and people that I cross paths with and that I get to work with, even some who haven't even experienced a fraction of the loss that you have walked through. It's always interesting to me that people are very clear on what they don't want, but
Mhm.
when I ask them what they want, they're like, I don't know. Like
Exactly.
I have no
Eh,
idea.
You have to frame it for them because most
Mhm.
of the time they're just like, I just don't want to feel this way again.
Yeah.
Or continue with it. Okay, so let's look at what does that look like?
Mhm.
And so I'll ask questions to them that are for them to introspectively examine within themselves because you have to do that.
Mhm.
And then in the process, the reason why typically they're still where they are is there is such a thing as a spirit of grief that will consume you. It is out to kill you. That's not grieving with hope.
Mm.
Grieving with hope is having that hope of life keeps going with beauty, and there's beauty from the ashes. And the ashes aren't consuming me. I'm above them and I'm being transformed. I'm not going to go back to who I was. I'm never going to be the mother I was with Sterling and Mark.
Mm.
I don't want to.
Mhm.
I'm never going to be the wife that I was when Sterling and Mark were. I don't want to. I want to be the new me to walk into that, but I have to know that my children are going to go with me forward because I have treasure chest in my heart where all the memories, all the laughable, crazy, silly, even the tearful moments, they're all there and I can pull them up. Nobody can take them from me. They're not left behind me. They're with me always.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. We spoke earlier before we started about grieving for someone who has passed and grieving for someone who is still here. And
Mhm,
I've seen both. And I know that we were getting into a good conversation about that. And I do want to go there because,
mhm,
this is I've had people say to me, well, at least they're still here. And I'm like, I promise you, we have been in active grieving times, like still grieving with hope, but also active grieving times throughout most of this journey
right.
because it's out of my control.
It is. And
Mhm.
so I want to address that. I'll tell your audience we have a son who started running after the loss of our first son, and he's still been running, and he's 30 today.
Mhm.
He has not chosen to enter into the place for healing.
Mm.
And so he's made some very poor choices and living in some very difficult circumstances because he's choosing to,
Mhm.
not because he has to, he's choosing to. And so my kids have had to grieve. And actually, he even was gone before my son Sterling passed. He really had already been out of our lives doing things on his own, but then really went dark afterwards and for a while. And what I can say is my kids have had to grieve the loss of someone living. And we have as a family, and I'm just going to say this, it is more difficult to grieve the loss of someone living than it is for someone who's already passed because and some people may get flared up and that's not what I'm meaning, but I know my sons that passed are gone.
Mhm.
But the son who's living, the unknown can really bear on a parent, and we have to learn how to not let that consume our thoughts, consume our life, and take responsibility for that. Because I'm not responsible for him and his action. I've done everything I've tried, and I can help him
Mhm.
based on my training. I can help him, and I have helped him at times. However, you got to continue the work. and go through it.
Mhm.
But if you have a living child, an estrangement right now is growing exponentially among our generation of the kids who are no longer having a relationship with parents, no longer allowing, not even allowing their parents to have a relationship with their grandchildren. So the pain that we see coming into the Sterling Rose Sanctuary, I'm seeing individuals from the parental side that they're crippled.
Mhm.
They're paralyzed because their kids have been their all in all. And they're waiting. They're waiting and they're not able to really function. And even if they are functioning, there's this, and I want to say like this lifeline that it's going to change, it's going to turn around. They're waiting for it. I'm not waiting for it. And I need for everyone to understand here's how I have come to this place. One, I pray for him
Mhm.
and I love him. And I pray that if I never see him again, that he comes to a place of resolution and peace. And for me, that he really does have that relationship with the Lord where there is peace and rest for him.
Mm.
And if we never see each other again on this side of the cross, I'm at peace with that. I don't feel like I'm, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to have someone go search for him.
Mhm.
I'm at peace. I really am at peace. The other side of that is I have the ones coming in that are choosing to be the estrangers. So I'm working with the estrangers, the ones that have made the decision I'm not letting my parents because, and when we have these conversations, so I want to address why we've gotten to where we have. First of all, trauma has been redefined. So everything's trauma now.
Everything is trauma.
Everything's trauma. And so a child who grew up and let's say they were taken to church or they weren't taken to church. And I've had, but my parents never took me to church and I feel like that they didn't do their job equipping. So I'm not having my parents around my children because da, 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 and I'm like, okay. And then the other side, or they did, or my parents are Democrat, or my parents are Republican. And so now we've got a political stand, and I don't want my children or my children influenced by that. And I am, as I'm listening, I says, okay, so sweetie, let's walk through that. When you grew up, did all of your parents' friends agree? No. Do you feel that everyone has to agree? Well, I don't want the influence. I just know. And I went, nope, I need you to stop and retract for a second. I want you to really look at this.
Mhm.
And so we talk through this because in their mind, that's protecting their child and themselves. And what it really is, it's fear. It is fear.
Mhm.
And they don't know how to verbalize their concerns and communicate effectively. And so we work with that.
Mhm.
And I said, you do, some of them have kids. And I said, you do realize, sweetie, that you're going to be judged in the same way you're judging your parents by your own children, possibly.
Mhm.
Well, I don't think so. And I said, no, you will be. Because see, parents only, they do the best, most parents. I'm not going to say all. I've seen some really horrific parents.
Mhm.
Most parents really do try to do the best they can to provide for their children emotionally, spiritually, economically, physically. They're doing the things for them that they can. That doesn't mean they're going to get it all right.
No, that's what I was gonna say. That doesn't mean they're gonna get it all right. Do I agree with a lot of the things that no, I don't. But I also look at it and believe that they did the best they could with the information that they had at the
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah.
really
And that's how we have to look at that. And they go, but they can. I said, no, honey, because here's the thing. As a parent, you don't have you don't have a manual that goes, do this, this, and this. I said, now, we do have the Bible, and I feel that there is a manual for child rearing in that. But for people who are just coming in this blindly,
Mhm.
even with the Bible, you're not going to get it right because we're imperfect people. We're flawed.
Mhm.
And first of all, every child is different. The needs are different. So we're only going to be able to do that, which we know in a season. And guess what? as our children mature, we mature. Wow. And then we look back and go, I probably would have done a few things differently, especially that situation, because now I have more context of what was going on. And you weren't really providing information. But now, as they get older, they'll share more. And you're like, man, I wish you had told me that at that time.
It's always interesting because I remember I've had the conversation that I promise you I made mistakes. I absolutely promise you because
We all do.
but
Yeah.
I remember saying to them because conversation never came my direction. But that's was something that I decided to do. And I just said, I promise you I've made mistakes.
Cool.
There was no manual for what we walked through with you. There was like that piece, there was no manual for what we walked through. And I said, I can guarantee that we made a lot of mistakes. And I can guarantee I did the best that I could at all times with everything that I had. I will own whatever I did or didn't do, but it never came from lack of effort. I was, was making an attempt and trying. So I think it's always good to be in that space because I wanted the example to them that I didn't get it all right. I didn't. And you won't either. I promise you. And that's okay. I don't think we should be setting ourselves up for the expectation that we will get it all perfectly.
No.
Because I kind of worry about the next generation then of kids coming up thinking it has to be all this way. And that's, it's so interesting. I feel like it's just this trapped in this loop. Thank you for going there with this conversation because I know that you see it from so many different sides. And, I love that you can still hold that, the boundary, the energy, and the love for the people that you see so that no matter which side they're coming in from, that hopefully that can help them to process grief if they decide to. When did you create the Sterling Rose Sanctuary, and what was the deciding moment that this is what we're doing?
The deciding moment was God's deciding moment in 2017 when he gave the vision and said, you need to do this, and gave a vision as to what it was to look like. And we set out to do it. And then we had opened up for people who had lost a child, sibling, and grandchild initially. And 2020 came upon us. And grief was exponential. And our board, because I had said to the board, we really needed this for all people. And they said, no, be specific. And I was like, okay, and you have this, you can just, okay. So 2020 came and they go, hey, this needs to be for all people. And I said, yes, it does. So we started serving, and now we serve all over the US and in 7 countries.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. So in
It
7
is.
different countries.
Yes, we've had people from 7 different countries that have called, and, most of our appointments are on the phone as we're working with healing. We are in the process of raising capital campaign for a place. We want to have a place here where people can come for healing. And, we have all the information on our website as to the rooms, what that will look like, the inner healing, the way that will organically flow for individuals that come. And we don't want a group. We want a single couple or family at
Okay,
a
that's
time.
what I was wondering how you okay.
No, we will deal with that, and we want to be able to put them in places on the property where they can be afforded an individual to work with them and to walk them through the various rooms and the layers, because there are layers to grief. And we understand that. And our family had to walk through those layers of intentionality. How do we stay closer and more bonded instead of fraying apart? Because grief really does pull us away, because you're not alone, but there's a loneliness in grieving. And everybody experiences that because each of us have a significant relationship with either the situation that we're grieving or the person that we're grieving. And when I say situation, I mean, some people, it can be their health. They've lost their health. They're declining in health. It could be finances. It could be the fact that they are having to grieve that their dreams that they had did not come to fruition. And so everyone has that. But when we're looking at a couple or a family, we really want them to know everyone's going to grieve differently. So let's talk about how each one of you grieve. So you can be an internal or an external processor. Even though I talk, I'm an internal processor,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of surprising for people.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, who's more quiet, is an external processor.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to put some boundaries in our family because two of us were external, two were internal, and said, we can talk about these things at this given time. But beyond some of this, you really need to go see someone and dialogue because we're all grieving. And everybody needs to have that space for themselves to grieve. And we want to be supportive. So tell us ways we can be supportive to you. And each person had their ways. We learned what each trigger was for each person and how to um, divert the trigger for that individual would allow healing for another person that that situation would bring healing to them, but it would cause a trigger for the other. So
Mm-hmm.
pictures are one of those examples.
Mm-hmm.
Some don't want pictures around, some do. Some need it for healing, others feel triggered by it. So we had to find a special place that the picture of Sterling could go where the two people that were triggered would not be continuously triggered, but for the two that needed the healing could have the healing. It's continuous with vacation spots, with Christmas, Thanksgiving. So our first year, and we encourage all of our people that come into the sanctuary, if it's the loss of a person closely related in your family that you've done things with traditionally, do very different things for your the entire year. So we did not do our normal traditional things that first year. We got out of our house, we went places. And you know what? It was really awesome because we could grieve there without triggers around us that would take us deeper in.
That is so valuable what you shared. I know a family, two things. I know a family close to our area, and that's what they did for the first 2 years is everything
Oh,
was
good.
different. Everything was new. They did
Mhm.
Christmas was somewhere else, and I remember at the time thinking about that, but I guess I never looked at it like I never looked at it from the lens of grieving as you're sharing it, because now all of a sudden you are, you know, creating opportunities for new. You can still grieve there. That doesn't mean that you don't. That and the other piece that I think is so interesting in how you're sharing it, and I don't know if I've really had anybody share it this way before, but looking at the different processes and the way that each person grieves and how that can interact within say, for example, a couple, a partnership, a family, because so many times you can hear people that they're not doing enough for me, they're not seeing me in this way, and they're all of a sudden now, instead of just dealing with the grief, we've now got like a lot of confrontation and pressure and internal pressure happening and people not seeing each other in the process.
And that's why. And
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to help people understand that if I wanted to set a place at the table
Hmm.
for my son, even though he's not here, or
Yeah.
both my sons, let's take both of them now, both my sons, and my family members are like, that's going to make me really struggle. I don't want that. I need to understand also they're grieving.
100%.
And so I need to respect if we're all getting together,
Hmm.
this isn't the time or place. I can set a place at the table for both of my sons and maybe have breakfast
Hmm.
in memory and honoring them. I don't have to have everybody else doing it, and I don't need to take offense. I have found quite often when grieving, the level of offense is much greater. And so we really try to help people understand that your grieving has caused you to be more sensitive
Hmm.
to offense
Hmm.
and that they're not trying to offend you, but there are things that are needed for everybody to heal. And so I've had people come in the sanctuary where they've cut off their the outer part of their family because they didn't feel understood.
Hmm.
They weren't talking about their loved one. when they all got together. And I said, honey, let's unpack that for a second. It may be difficult for them because they're missing, but also it's uncomfortable because they're really wanting to maybe experience joy, and that's harder for them.
Mhm.
So I really try to help my clients look from the other lens.
Yeah. That's good.
Because when we
That's
can do that, then we have a healthier balance of walking in it instead of everything's about me.
See, one of the things that I mean, in my training, one of the number one things we look at doing is learning to respect that everybody has their own internal representation of the world. We all have our own internal way that we see the world. And the sooner we can learn to, again, go back to what you said earlier, understand that we each see it differently. We each have different needs. We don't all have to agree in how to do it, but we can respect each other in the process. It's actually quite powerful to be able to do that.
Well,
Yeah, because you are giving and creating space for everybody to walk their own process of healing. I can say my journey and my husband's journey in dealing with our son was very different. It was very different. And we let it be different.
and that's okay.
Hmm.
We let it be different that we all grieve differently.
Hmm.
First of all, you cannot force someone else. And I go back to life experiences and the person's makeup, their temperament, their personality has a lot to do with how they enter a space or don't. I've had people say, I don't feel this person's not talking to me anymore. And I said, well, honey, let me just ask you something. Would you have known how to enter into the very place that you're in with another friend before this happened to you? I don't think so. And I said, okay, I just need you to understand.
Hmm.
Everybody's trying to navigate the best way they can. And I can tell you, your friends love you.
Hmm.
They just don't know how, in some ways, to be present right now. And they're trying to figure it out. And they're not saying things because they think that's going to trigger you.
Hmm.
And I said, but you have the ability to invite in who you want based on who you think is able to come in.
Hmm.
And that's a boundary, and grievers need to know they need to establish that. Everyone doesn't get to come in, and they shouldn't expect everybody to come in.
Hmm.
This is for members, and when I say this is for me to invite you only moment.
Hmm.
I don't care if you're family and you've been a friend for 40 years. If I didn't invite you into my grief journey, it didn't mean I didn't love you. It's just that that was not the time I needed you in my space.
I'm listening, and it's so powerful, and so many takeaways for people. I mean, I found myself years ago saying that the only way I had to put really strong boundaries into place, and the world was an inner circle, and it was an invite only. It's the only way I could build myself up through this process to be able to navigate it. And there were times I had to say to people, "It's invite only. I'm sorry, it's not personal. It is not personal. I
It's
this is
not.
no, it's not. It wasn't personal. No."
And there's this place where an ebb and flow.
Hmm.
There are even seasons of life people aren't invited in the inner circle based on what's going on. And it's not because I don't love you. It's that this isn't your season to be up close and personal.
Hmm.
It's all good.
Hmm.
I mean, we have to learn that it's not an offense. It's part of life. It's not a judgment. It's just that, the Lord, when I was losing some friends, and I just, after my son, I mean, we lost his friends, we lost him, we lost what our lives looked like. We were losing certain friendships in and through, and just everything. There's so much loss. It's a domino of losses. And the Lord said, Marcia, in order to, it, it- it's house cleaning. I've got to come in and remove some things so we can redecorate and put some new things. And I've got people I want to come in for you. So I'm needing to make some room so they can
Space.
come in. And yes. And I just loved I mean, he was so gracious to me and letting me know because I love it fully and deeply.
Mm.
And not that when I'm in a season, you're always gonna be invited in, but I really do love there's a reason that we're connecting for a certain time of life.
Mm.
There's a season that we're going to. And I can tell you, lifetime friends are gonna be very rare, if at all.
Extremely rare.
Yeah, it's an if at all.
Mm.
I mean, you may have one.
Mhm. I think they even say, like, if with your I love season, reason, and lifetime is one of my
Yeah,
favorite
me
things to go
too.
back to when it
Me
comes
too.
to, I sometimes when I may be mistreated by somebody or something happens, I'm like, wow, that was a reasons person. I obviously
Yes.
needed to
Yes.
learn something there. That was it, or that was a seasons person.
Mhm,
I think they say lifetime, you're lucky if your lifetime is 5, like it's on one hand, less than one hand.
mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
I believe that. As I've gotten older, I really believe that we're not gonna see much of that either. I just don't. Because of how mobile we are as a culture, and because most people don't have capacity now.
Mm-mm.
So if you don't have capacity, you cannot be in with the hard things of someone else. It's about you
Mhm.
only.
Oh, you nailed that one. That's where it's interesting, as when somebody does pass, they say, like, if you think about it, everyone is sorry about your loss, sorry about your loss, sorry about your loss. But that is a subconscious, that's a deflection. And I'm like asking you to hold everything. So I work really hard to never say sorry about your loss. I always just like, I'm
Me
thinking of
too.
you. I don't
Me too.
say, yeah, I
I say
just
I'm
don't.
heart holding you.
Yep. I love that
Heart
one.
holding you during this time. I and I've had people who come unglued with, "I'm sorry about your loss," because they feel that that is minimizing the magnitude
Yep.
of loss because this is a person. It's not like losing your keys, losing a book. This is humanity, and I actually saw a man go off on, on someone because they said, "I'm so sorry for what? Did you have any control over it? Were you able to do any?" I mean, because he just was so angry
Yeah.
that someone's saying, "I'm sorry," because that's really not the place to say, "I'm sorry."
It
It's what
isn't.
our culture has come to say, but I'm thinking of you at this time. I'm praying for you. I'm lifting your family up.
Yep.
I am heart holding you. And, praying comfort. I mean, there's a magnitude of things we could say, people, other than "I'm sorry."
Mhm. I have always believed that, and that I think because that's something I've always experienced, and I just know, like, I remember interviewing somebody who was, a professor and taught on empathy and the difference from empathy and sympathy, and it was so fascinating,
Mm.
so fascinating, and really, when we continue to say, "Sorry for your loss," that is just, like, sympathy. I'm just pouring it and pouring it and pouring it, but now the person who's grieving is trying to hold all of this because
Mm.
you're uncomfortable, and now that doesn't help them. So it's very, it's such an interesting dynamic. But it's again, we're back to the beginning where grief is something that is still it's a I don't want to it's not a taboo topic, but it certainly is one that I think only in the last 5-10 years have I heard more people speak on it, more people write books on it, and actually talking about healthy ways to be able to grieve and what does this look like. So I still feel like it's a conversation that's just really starting.
I do too. And I mean, I've been walking this my whole life. And even when I wrote the book, Gripping Grace in the Garden of Grief, I wrote it because it's a very visceral account of walking through the grief where people can actually identify because I'm not minimizing what I went through, but there's also hope
Mhm.
in the finished product of what's
Breathing.
happening, and there is grace in that garden. There
Mhm.
are new things to grow in that garden, that we have to know we've gotta come in and let go of the negative emotions that are consuming us
Mhm.
and allow for new receiving in the journey.
No, that is beautiful. That's beautiful. And can you just say your book, the name of your book again and where people can find it?
It's Gripping Grace in the Garden of Grief. It's on Amazon, and it's also on our website as well.
Beautiful. And your website where people can connect with you and learn more about you?
It's www thesterlingrosesanctuary.us
Mhm.
because it takes us as a community to bring people back into life.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. I have loved this connection, and thank you for allowing us to take the conversation a little bit deeper today in ways because I feel like that can support people. Is there anything else about grieving, a grief that you wish people were open to understanding or learning?
I think for the people that speak to grievers, when you were saying I'm sorry, all I could sit and think about is please do not say platitudes either.
Mhm.
It shuts people down because you're not comfortable, obviously, with their grief.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what you're saying to them when you give them a platitude. Especially, don't ask people if they have more children when they've lost a child.
Oh, geez, you had people do that too. I've heard people do that. Well, at least
Oh,
you have others. And I'm like,
do you have others? And
oh,
I mean, I'm not a violent person by any nature, but I really remember one point I just was like, I want to put this person in a stranglehold. I just have to be honest. It was just like, are you really asking me? So my other son's life is disposable in the sense that I have other children.
yeah.
I mean, we need to be careful. And here's the reality for those of you that are friends of somebody who's grieving. Be quiet and be present. You don't even have to say anything. If you learn to hold space, that is vitally important. You're not there to tell them how to do it,
No.
but you know what is the most valued piece anyone can bring in is I don't understand what you're feeling, but I want you to know at any time I'm here for you to unpack that pain.
See, that's beautiful. Like I see that as a holding space. I
Yeah.
know one of my friends lost her husband very young. Her two kids were under 2 years old. And it was a really like how she navigated that was incredible. And I remember somebody saying to her that the year is up. You should be fine by now. Like a year is up. You should be fine. And that crushed her because she was like, should I be fine? And I'm like, no, I mean, raising 2 kids under 2 is not fine. That's hard as it is. Now doing it on your own and grieving. But I thought that I remember saying to her that that is not you. That is a reflection of that person.
Yeah.
And that's how they are saying it. So I love how you said, just if you don't know what to say, then don't. Try and find a way of what to say. Or the other is, let me know if you need anything. Like that's
Don't ask that either.
yeah, I know.
We have a list on our
You
website
do? Good for you. Okay.
that if you want to go, that we tell you what to do for people who are grieving
Yeah.
because they don't know what they need.
No.
They're grieving and they're overwhelmed. So don't ask, what can I do? You may say to them, um, I'm going to drop by and you may take them a meal. You may take them gift cards for them to go get meals later because that's necessary. You can go pick their children up and run them to different places because that's very helpful. You can buy them groceries, which is wonderful because when you're tired and you can't think, you can either ask them, could I get a grocery list from you? Or do you mind if I just go and grocery shop and bring a recipe or two over? Because if someone really loves to cook, that's a great way for them to process their grief. I mean, and again, you have to know the people that
Mm,
you're dealing with. Uh, Buy them uh, cards to go and have massages
mm,
because grief gets trapped in the body and we want that to be fluid and moving and for them to be detoxing or an infrared sauna time. There's so many things that you can do that are not expensive, but they're meaningful things.
mm,
And so even if you were thinking you were going to send flowers, don't send flowers. Do something that's more sustainable, something that really is going to nurture them, help them to heal.
mm.
And so, oh my word, yes, I have a list on my
I
website.
love that you
For
have
the-
that there.
I have several things there because we need resources. And Most people just don't know. And if they don't know, don't wing it.
Mm,
Find a way to do it properly.
beautiful. I love that you said that. Thank you for sharing that. And you said, like, be quiet, be present. Being present sometimes and being quiet is really powerful. It's really powerful. People know that you are there. So I am so honestly, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for sharing your story and thank you for showing others what is possible
Mhm.
as you are walking alongside grief and how again you can use your story to continue to help others. I do have one question for you that I ask everyone at the end, and it is, what lesson in life are you most grateful for?
I think knowing from my parents that I was created to live in victory,
Mhm.
and the examples from my own parents of how they rebounded and lived in victory, but were authentic in that process. I'm so thankful because I think it's a gift,
Mhm.
a true gift. And I just see that there's been this gift of resilience that has been given to me through the life lessons within my own life again.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful. And I would even say a healthy resilience. Like this is a do
Mm,
moving forward healthy resilience, right? Sometimes we see the resilience of like just barrel through, but
mm,
this is a resilience. I love how going back to you said grieving with hope.
yeah.
This is just a different way to see things and it's just so beautiful.
Well, thank you. I've so enjoyed being here and talking with you. And we share so much in common. And what a joy that someone is so aligned in the same mindset. So thank you. Because these are not the conversations typically people want to have. So I love that we've had it and we've been able to unpack a lot of stuff in it.
We have. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Mine too.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Own Your Choices, Own Your Life. I invite you to tag me on social media with your takeaways or share it with a friend. If you feel called, please leave a 5-star review and I would be forever grateful. Until next time, remember, when you own your choices, you own your life.